This week, the Michigan Wolverines are preparing to take on the Akron Zips of the MAC Conference this Saturday. It's a 12 p.m. kickoff. Michigan is now ranked number 11 after several teams fell from higher in the rankings and after their 41-30 win over the Fighting Irish this past Saturday. So we're going to be previewing the Akron game. There's a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things that happened during the Notre Dame game, a lot of things that are going to happen this week that is going to, be the telling point of Michigan football for the rest of the season. So let's dive right into that. Ryan, do you have anything to start off with?
Brady Hoke refers to this game as the glazed donut game, and I guess you can translate that any way you want. Don't know really what it means. It is a cupcake game. Akron's not too much of a threat to Michigan by any standards. You're going to see probably a lot of secondary players. I expect to see a lot from Derek Green and a lot of secondary players just getting a shot, showing what they can do. It's probably not going to be a game by the end of the first quarter.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Central then, right?
Pretty much like Central.
Okay. It's the first team. It's the first meeting between both teams ever. Michigan also brings in a 16-game home winning streak, which is the longest in the BCS. There's a lot of stuff that's going on this week too. Are we going to see the same Devin Gardner that we saw the first week, or are we going to see the same Gardner that we saw the second week? A lot of stuff, going on. Gardner so far this season has 456 yards through the air, 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Through those interceptions were on very, they weren't really smart plays by Gardner, but he showed that he can rebound on those. He also has 134 yards through the ground with 3 touchdowns. So he's definitely showing that he's a Heisman-worthy candidate. He'd be up there right now if I were picking for the Heisman.
Definitely.
But also there's some telling signs that the team needs some work. Jeremy Gallon has had a huge year so far. Wearing the number 21.
Yeah, the thing with that is it seems like Jeremy Gallon, yeah, he had his rate, but we got to get the other receivers to match. You got to get the tight end more. I think the running game still needs some work. And to be a successful team and to be a national championship team, you have to have both components. You got to be able to run the ball and throw the ball, and you can't just rely on one guy. It's got to be because teams in double coverage. Gallon, what's Michigan gonna do?
Yeah, so far, the receiving core, 284 yards without Gallon's efforts. Obviously Michigan's going to look to improve that. Brady Hoke said that this week during his press conferences that they're going to look for other options other than Gallon. He's probably going to be double teamed all afternoon. That's what I expect out of the Akron game. You're going to see a lot of Gallon's going to be covered a lot. But they also have to work on the defense as well. Last week they were 6 for 12 on third down conversions. That's 50%. They need to get a little bit better with that if they're going to be, a championship caliber team.
More pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, more pressure on the quarterback too. The one time that they did pressure Tommy Rees last week, Tommy Rees ended up throwing an interception.
And that was a huge play in that game to get that interception. That's when Michigan really took over. Mm-hmm. And that's when momentum swung our way.
But when they didn't pressure Tommy Rees, Tommy Rees, lit the Michigan secondary up for I think 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. So you got to work on the defense, the secondary especially. But that all comes with time. And by the time November rolls around, they should be ready. And that's exactly what this game is. Akron, isn't coming in here to upset Michigan. This is kind of like a little practice run, kind of like you saw with Central Michigan. I don't know what else they can show. Whatever they've shown before, it's not like Michigan's hiding anything for an opponent like Notre Dame. Next week they play Connecticut at Connecticut for their first road game of the season. So I'm not really sure what they're going to be showing or what they're going to be hiding. But everything's on the table right now. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Like you said, it's really a game where Akron's, no offense to the Zips, they're not a threat to Michigan. Michigan is a top 25 BCS team. Akron is, they're decent in the MAC. I know they led the MAC in passing yards last year, so you can't look past that. Michigan's secondary still hasn't had the brightest this season so far. Notre Dame, they found a way to take them apart a little bit, but that's Notre Dame. This is Akron. No matter what the situation is, he can probably throw for 300 yards, and the game still wouldn't be close.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those situations. It's going to be one of those games where, like I said, you're going to see a lot of secondary players. Derek Green, I expect to see him a lot, get a lot of touches.
Same thing with Shane Morris too.
Yeah, Shane Morris. You'll probably see him mid-third.
Yeah, that sounds like a fair, expectation for him to be coming out on the field.
It'll be a nice game for Gardner to kind of pad his stats a little bit more. And, like you said, he's a Heisman candidate. There's no argument about it. And his numbers speak for himself. And, I mean, he'll get 300 to 400 all-purpose yards,
Yeah, the usual, like Central Michigan. Akron enters with the spread offense. So far, Kyle Poles listed as their starting quarterback for this Saturday. In 2 games, he has 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. But they've also used, multiple quarterbacks throughout the season. Same thing with their running back situation. Right now, Jawan Chisholm is leading, their group of running backs. He had 97 yards on 22 carries. Most of those yards, I think about 80-some, came last week against James Madison. So you're going to see a little growth period for the Zips, too, as they prepare for their Mid-American Conference play, which should begin probably in the next few weeks.
Yeah, the cool thing is, for Akron, these kids get to play in a big house. And, a lot of these college football teams, especially the lower, they don't see fans like this ever. They don't play, the big stadium. I don't know how much their stadium holds, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 you'll see at a game. But this is Michigan. They're going to come out the tunnel and just see fans upon fans. It's just amazing blue, and it's going to be surreal experience. What their coach is saying, they're excited for the opportunity, and they're going to do what they can do. Unfortunately, it's not going to end up in a victory for them.
They could, everybody points to the whole Appalachian State game in 2007. If Michigan's sleeping, there's always the possibility that could happen. But I don't see that right now coming off a huge win over Notre Dame. But never doubt the next opponent following a huge win.
That is true. You never want to underestimate an opponent, but if you know sports, the upset like that, what's the percent of that? Appalachian State, maybe like a 1% chance.
Very slim.
Very slim. I would never put my money on that.
So what's your prediction going into Saturday? It's going to be your first game in the Big House, Ryan. You're going to be covering it along with me. So what is your prediction for Saturday?
High scoring Michigan, low scoring Akron. Let's go. Let's go 52 to 10. There you go, 52 to 10.
Okay, that sounds fair. I'm gonna have to go with 48 to 6. I think the Zips will get on the board through a couple field goals, but I think it's going to be Michigan's offense showing what they did against Central, showing against what they did, to Notre Dame. They have a dynamic offense, but there's also room for improvement on the defense and through the ground and through the other players not named Jeremy Gallen in the receiving corps. So you're going to see a lot of growth and a lot of improvement because you're going to have time to improve. You're going to have some of the secondary guys, like Ryan said, Derek Green, Shane Morris, some of those guys that don't really see the field a lot with the starters. You're going to see them grow as well, and they're going to learn from this game. So any other closing thoughts?
Let's get it going. I'm excited. First game at the Big House. It's going to be great. Definitely expecting the big Michigan victory.
Okay, sounds fair. Yeah, Ryan's going to be tweeting throughout the day with the usual group, so look for that on the MJ Sports Twitter. I'm Ricky Lindsay.
I'm Ryan Petrus.
And this is the Akron and Michigan preview.